gives you a real car, an F1 car feeling.
Yeah, obviously there are like 4 more days, so I'm gonna practice more so I can have the best lap.
My name is Abhijit and my timing is 152. This is my first time in simulator where I tried my timing and the experience is very amazing. Tomorrow I'll get into 1:50 for sure.
Guys, I'm from ISM. So this was my first time on the simulator, but I've done go-karting before. But yeah, this was like really fun. I had a good experience.
Alright, welcome everybody to the live stream of the grand finale of the NESC 2022 by the Esports Federation of India. This is an online qualifying event used to select the Indian team for the inaugural Monaco Simracing World Cup to be held by the International Esports Federation, the IESF, at Monaco on the 23rd of October. The National Esports Championship, or the NESC, serves as the qualifying tournament to represent India and take part in international events such as the Commonwealth Esports Championship, World Esports Championship, Global Esports Games, Simracing World Cup, and the Asian Games. NESC 2022 for the Simracing World Cup has 2 legs. Firstly, the offline leg, which has been running at Inox and IISM since the 4th of July. 2 winners from IISM and 1 winner from Inox has basically joined onto this grid. They've gotten direct slots into the finals based on a fast lap competition that has been running for the past week. The second leg, of course, is the online qualifiers, which has basically 16 drivers that have been selected from the 4 grid slots, from the 8 sprint races that have run over the past 2 days, and along with them these 3 offline qualifiers are joining in to round off today's starting grid of a total of 19 registered participants. So it's really exciting what we're witnessing here today. A big shout out to our event partners IR Esports, multiplex partner Inox, and the communications partner Artsmith for supporting the cause of growing Indian esports. Also big shout out for the special guests and partners who are present there in the Inox viewing hall where this is also being streamed, and that is exactly where the 3 offline participants are also physically driving the sim rig. So a big shout out to all the guests present there. Thank you for being a part of this, making this entire show a big success and to make this competition well worth what it's showing, to really give these participants a chance at some sim racing glory eventually in a few months' time. However, today we've got the grand finale to look forward to. The Indian contingent selected based on the performances in the NESC 2022 will take part in the Simracing World Cup Continental Qualifiers, the dates for which will be announced soon by the IESF and Monaco Esports Federation, with 1 qualified driver proceeding for the finals at Monaco. In this year's NESC events, national teams for Dota 2, League of Legends, FIFA, eFootball, Tekken 7, CSGO, Hearthstone, and Rocket League have already been finalized. Now, IR Esports has created iconic properties in the racing esports space, such as the Indian E-Racing Championship, the Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship, Mumbai's fastest gamer, India's fastest gamer, and the Indian Sim Racing League. We curate, plan, and execute custom motorsport based campaigns via esports across various mediums. So, on that note, we're really excited to be here today. Let me quickly take a moment to introduce our broadcasting team for the day. My name is Saidat Ramesh. I'm joined by Solomon in the commentary box. We're really looking forward to this exciting race. We've got Firoz and Tanuj as our race directors today, taking care of all the proceedings of this race and these amazing camera angles. They're bringing all the action live for us. So, on that note, we jump straight into a little practice session just before just before the main qualifying main qualifying event that's going to be going on. We have about 9 to 10 minutes on the clock, waiting for that to run down as these drivers practice in their Tatus FA01 race cars. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but straight into the conversation, I'd like to bring in Solomon. I mean, we've had some excellent racing over the past few days. These are the 16 to 19 best participants from the country that have worked really hard to be here, to be driving here at the Vallelunga circuit. I mean, this is the best you can get from a grid. What do you think is going to happen at the start of that first race?
What's up and welcome along. We are right now and all set to go round it. As we were just watching the practice session going on, we did see a little bit of lockup. Good to hear you. Good to talk to you, Sai, after a while now. Now, I do believe it's going to be very, very competitive. We are talking about as somebody would say, that this is the real Roman arena, where you really need to take it down to the limits. We're talking about tires smoking up. There it goes again.
Interesting you say it's the Roman arena. This track, Vallelunga, is very close to Rome, about 30 to 40 kilometers north. So a fitting place to have a grand finale, to battle it out, to find out the ones who will be victorious. Remember, it's the top two drivers at the end of the points total. So Solomon, we actually have two.
Have been replaced by this wonderful cars. That's it.
Exactly. But we have horsepower, but of a different type in today's age.
That's the only connection at the moment.
Of course. And remember, it's actually two races, Solomon. We've got one sprint race of 20 minutes, and then the second sprint race has a reverse grid for the top 8 participants. So top 8 finishers from grid 1 have to reverse their grid order for race 2. That's going to come up with some interesting overtaking maneuvers on the first lap.
I'm not a big fan of reverse grid if I'm winning a race, and I would definitely be a big fan as a spectator, saying, well, why don't we have an all reverse grid? But I know this really kind of gets into the mix and kind of mixes up a little bit. Well, the competition really takes it to the level again. As we see Richie, remember the previous lap around, he almost had a spun, not once but twice. This time around, he seems to have it under control, just around the outside of that curve.
Yep, he's just rounding the final corner, making his way across the line. Richie, a driver who's really pushing yesterday. Remember, he had quite a few spins, but he has the potential to really put out some good lap times. A driver to look out for, as is every other single driver on the grid. All of them have some sort of a specific skill of their own, some specific part of the track where they're really strong. I think that's going to play into some of the strategies that play out in this race. There are no pit stops, but there are definitely mind games being played on track, as we will see once the actual the first sprint race does start.
So yeah, we have Davi Singh, Saibritwi, Amit Kuti, Jamie Shaw, big names there, and we also have Richie as well. So it's going to be very interesting because some of them have already got a lot of experience in taking part in sim racing. They understand how the sport works, but the credibility of using the track and especially the track limits, that's going to be one important thing that we're going to be watching out today.
Definitely, we've seen it time and again over the past couple of days, catching drivers off. Yeah,
that's almost more. Why are we commentators always getting things right or wrong?
Yeah, it's well timed, but maybe not so much for the driver being shown on screen. That's what we call, Solomon, the commentator's curse. We hope it only happens once this stream, and it never does anymore.
We do a blessing, sir. Let's do a blessing.
Please, let's do that.
Rithwik is powering around that particular corner. It was a very tight left-hander. Now, your tendency is to take it as wide as possible around. He's trying to stay as wide as possible. He knows he needs to get that little bit of exit as he takes a low left-hander one more time. Again, is he going to go out? Yes, he does.
Yep.
just a little bit, manages to touch the curb a little bit.
Just using the AstroTurf to his advantage. If you get the right amount of traction at the right angle at the exit of those corners, you can basically rocket off of that. You can launch off that with some brilliant acceleration, just picking up your speed a lot quicker than your competitors. This time around, of course, Ritwik's just testing the track limits. Of course, it's still practice. Drivers just trying to lay the rubber on the track, get some grip up, improve the track conditions for a very intense, very short 10-minute qualifying session that's about to come up.
So then let's just quickly tell you the top five. We have Ibrahim, number 1, Davin Singh, number 2, Cyprus with 3, Jamie Shaw, number 4, Hari at number 5. So that's a top 5. Can Ritwik move into the top 5? That's really what with that kind of performance on those 2 corners, it may not take him so far.
Yeah, if you just see the times now on the leaderboard, we've got about the top 7 within the 132s easily. If you're just managing it at 132, 999, just within that limit. But yeah, of the top 3. Yeah, once again, Ritwik just pushing it through. I mean, he hasn't put a very fast time on the board yet. 1 minute 34.3, but we've seen his race pace is a bit more than that. So he's just getting used to it. Both drivers locking up over there. Maybe we would have practiced.
Racing already?
Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah,
this is practice.
It's practice. Maybe just practicing wheel-to-wheel battles so they don't collide in the race. We really hope not. We want some clean, hardcore, just action-packed racing. That's what this is all about. Smooth, clean, professional racing.
No, it's going to be very interesting on that particular corner. You find folks taking the inside line and somebody taking the wider line again. I'm a big fan of taking a wider exit if the turn has multiple apexes. Now this is going to be very interesting because this track has got fast corners, low left-handers. It's very technical. It's also got fast right-handers as well. And as the car comes in, that's Jamie Shaw. He will be setting him up for right-hander again. Now this is one of the fastest right-hander, but if you just a little tap of the brake and then you really pull that on, it's going to be quite a lot of difficult chicane as well. You really need to make sure that you have placed the car in that position to take that corner.
Yep, and the sort of cars they're driving, this is the Tata's FA01 race car, which is one of the stock cars as part of Assetto Corsa, which is the simulator being used for this event. So this car is loosely based off Formula 4 spec, FIA spec race car. Not a lot of downforce. You can see very aggressive wings on these cars, but they've got a lot of mechanical dependence on the slow speed. So, that's why they can rocket out of those slow speed corners. They got a lot of torque as well. So you will see some drivers inevitably spinning out. Hopefully not in the race, but you will see that happen in qualifying because that's when they really start pushing those tires to their limits.
I think one important lesson that you and I got to learn here today is during the race, do not try and make those little bit of risks that come in earlier. You need to follow the guy ahead of you. Let them make a mistake. It will come to you because this track is quite brutal when it makes you commit a mistake like that one.
Speaking of brutal, yeah, he just went straight off over there. I mean, it took the escape road. You've got to turn left there, buddy. I mean, going straight is a blatant track cut. I think that was just a complete spin off there. He got a few too many wheels on the gravel and just spun himself out.
That means he's got the wheels is not going to be in absolute in form. But I kind of had a feeling like something just snapped off. It was like more of something snapped and it just went. So I hope he's okay. He's able to come back. I think it was Ibrahim. Yes, it was Ibrahim. He's still struggling to put in a very, very strong. You got to keep it smooth. So low in, low out. That's the trick to do it.
I think Davli's had enough of practice. He's put in a fast lap. He's gauged the competition around him, got a reference of what everyone else's pace is. He's just sitting there patiently waiting for qualifying to begin. Remember, once the clock hits 0, anyone else on the racetrack has to finish their lap and come in. Only then the session is going to time itself out. So you're going to have to wait a little bit after the timer runs and hits 0 before we can get into the qualifying sequence. As you see Cyprus getting on, continuing his way through this sequence. Of course, it's the end of the lap for him, so he's going to be crossing the line and probably will pit at the end. Let's see what he does. Well, he decides to spin. He's pushed a bit too much, but he would have been en route for probably a 1 minute 30, maybe even a 1 minute 31 looking at his pace.
I think when you're getting onto the track, you really got to know where your lines are because, as I said, there are a couple of corners. Like I can name four of them, which have actually got multiple apexes. Clover Grand has multiple apexes. You have the Roma having multiple apexes. You will also have the Campigino having multiple apexes. So you got to pick your corners.
Certainly do. We've got a few drivers, like I mentioned, before we who were part of the offline qualifiers. They regularly came and practiced and tried their hand at the sim rigs present at Inox and also at IISM to get onto this grid. So some really fast lappers on the grid as well. That's P11 Harshal Jain, P15 Harsh Bani, and P14 Pratik Jay. So these three drivers were from the offline qualifying scene. It's the first time they're jumping on the racetrack to race against these other drivers who are part of the online qualifying. So this is their chance to show what they've got on the racetrack with multiple other cars around them. Currently just testing the limits of the track, but we hope they put some competitive times on the leaderboard once qualifying starts.
Right. And I believe, welcome along, Pratik, because now this is the time where you really have to show your skills. Great stuff that we have. A lot of folks coming in from our activities around Inox, as well as the lockup of the car with a double weave. If you do that 3 times on the track, I'm telling you, the stewards are going to have a very good look at you.
Yeah, you don't want to be taxing the patience of the stewards. He decides the best way to get rid of that is to just spin himself out. I think he just wants to return to the pits. He's seen the timer go down, run himself out, and he's run himself off the road. Returning back to the pits, we've got Naveen Balaji, another driver who was in the midst of the battles yesterday. Had a few tussles himself on the racetrack, but stayed consistent, racked up the points needed to get into the finale as he rounds off the corner to finish his qualifying run, his practice run here, about 1 minute 41.4. Definitely not the pace he wants. That was probably just a messed up lap over there for him. But he's returning to the pits, and I believe most drivers will find their way back because we need to start qualifying soon.
No, I was just thinking, I was looking at Naveen Balaji's lap, especially the last corner. Now, when he came to that corner, he knew if he was going to go onto the acceleration on the Roma corner just before coming down to the place where we made the checkered flag. Now, the fact of the matter is that he decided that, okay, if I'm not going to control it, I let the car just roll over the finish line. And that was possibly the most sensible thing to do because otherwise he wouldn't even have had a top 13 finish. This is Kishnu Sagar at the point of time, still clocking outside 2 minutes 52 at the point of time.
Yeah, I believe that's,
So that's
P6 Shantanu, who's on your screen there. I think that was just his outlap. Not sure why he decided to do an outlap in practice. The practice timer went down. But yeah, this is just the first taste of what these drivers are going to be showing us over the next hour and a half of racing. Remember, we've got 10 minutes of qualifying followed by 2 20-minute sprint races with small breaks in the middle. We hope you all stay tuned. We hope you've gotten comfortable. Familiarize yourselves with the names of these drivers because you're going to be seeing a lot of action from them in the upcoming races. So we're back into action now. Straight into qualifying, we jump in, and Sai Prithvi is the first driver who decides he's the one who wants to get the first banker lap up on the leaderboard before any sort of chaos starts dispersing itself across the racetrack. We've got a bunch of drivers, Solomon, all trying to jump out there and get their banker laps on the board.
I'm not sure. Either there are two thoughts that go into the banker lap. Number one, let me just get out as quickly as possible so that I get a little more time on the track. Second, the other thought is like maybe I watch the others and then possibly know where those mistakes are coming in. This track is so technical is that by the time you're able to finish a corner, it's only between turn 6 and 7 you can actually go flat out. Now, when you are touching gear 3, gear 4, and you're already moving into the top gear, you already find yourself coming into a slow corner. So it is quite taxing on the car as well, and as well as the drivers.
Yeah, we've got a nice collection of race cars all on track. It almost seems like they'll be hindering each other on their laps. It's not all of them have the same pace, right? They're all within about half a second of each other. So there are going to be a few spins. Not everyone's going to completely make it through. As you see, Harsh Vani already going straight off.
That's called that's the lawnmower. So you'll have to get your car back again. But I just hope he's able to get his lap completely well. Now, let's just okay. Wow, this is a fabulous view of the track.
Let's come straight on board with Sai Prithvi as he runs through this lap. He's already gone through the first couple of corners, completely flat out. As you take turns number 4 and 5, the Chimini 1 and 2 corners, it's basically a double apex. Got to go wide in the middle though, just to maximize your speed. It's a singular motion of the steering wheel. Hold it in the lock as he makes his way out through turns number 6, pretty much flat out. Long straight over here as he brakes into turn number 7. It's a downhill, relatively flat corner, just hits the inside, goes off a little wide, not too much to hit the grass, but just enough to launch off of that AstroTurf. Now you need to brake into turn number 8, that is Sorate, as you go into the left. Bit of an uphill corner, you need to bias your brakes accordingly for that. Again, go over the hill and start going down through turns number 9 and 10. Once again, relatively flat out for these cars. Heavy on the brakes as you take this long right-hander. It's a bit more downhill than the previous long right-hander, and also off-cambered, just testing the limits of the tires. Take the next left-hander, Torrentino, turn number 12. Very tight section of the track. We saw a lot of people trying to make overtaking maneuvers over here, often making mistakes or pushing the drivers into their mistakes. The next couple of corners are just the S's, turns number 13 and 14 in the SA section. Go through the final corner, now turn number 15 to Roma as you ride the inside the bank of the track. You need to use the camber to your advantage. Don't run wide there, it'll get caught off by the grapple trap. Sai Prithvi crosses to put the first flying lap of the session, 1 minute 31.352, and a very competitive one at that, Solomon.
I was actually impressed with the kind of lines that he took because he knew he was not going to push it down to the limit. He wanted to just be comfortable with the speed that he was taking in. Now, that is one lap that is definitely going to come in for a little bit of a challenge. How is Ibrahim going to take it up? Another interesting aspect that you talked about the S's there. He knew he was not going to go around. Is that I think was one of the cars just spins out a little bit. Ibrahim still is on the track. You got to know where your exit points are. Now, if you notice that it was somewhere between turn 7 and 8, although despite being flat out, he kind of stayed just close to the apex, but stayed as wide as possible as well to get that traction.
Yes, really only one line if you look at it, Solomon. Like they're relatively small cars, but there's really only one proper line you can take for these if you want to really maximize your exit. So that's another reason why when it comes to battling, right, you might see small tussles between groups of cars on the racetrack, while lone runners further behind take advantage of that and chop down the time. It seems like that's what's happening here as well, because people are battling it out even before the race has begun.
I think they possibly got to know that they're going to be a little bit hard on your tires. You really need your tires first. One second, you need your setup to just come around it. This is the time where you actually check your acceleration, check your brakes, see how is the car handling, and not mishandling and misfiring, because as we just saw a car spin at the back. Now, they got to possibly take a little bit of learning here. Just let the car do its thing, and then you take it to the limit.
Yeah, and as you speak about take it to the limit, Ibrahim just missed out on the 1 minute 30s, but he's a 1 minute 31.024. Gives a tap to, is that Sai Prithvi up ahead? That is a red car up ahead. Not sure which red car that is. But Ibrahim's put a very competitive time of 1 minute 31.0. 3/10, more than 3/10 clear of Sai Prithvi. And who in turn is about 4/10 clear of Davli Singh, and also Hari Kripanan. Only 4 drivers in the 1 minute 31s, only about 4.5 minutes left.
I think he was trying to take a little bit of a tour, maybe a tote getting it a little bit of slipstream. But then my assumption is the safest place to take the slipstream here is between turn 6 and all the way up to turn 7. Now that's the way you take it. Here you got to follow up the car ahead of you as closely as possible. They will make a mistake. They will go wide. They will go off the track. They will definitely hit the apex late. They will break late. You got to wait for your opportunity. It's one of those games where you actually wait for your own opportunity and it comes and presents in front of you. Hari on the track, 55 so far. How's he doing? Will he be able to do it in the top 10? Not with that spin.
No, definitely not indeed. As he clips the sausage curb, always want to stay off of that, right, Solomon? That those really do catch on these drivers. They really tax the tires and also just knock the cars out of contention potentially.
I think they're trying to say that okay, the apex is on my right. Let me go close to the moment you're moving your car to the right towards the apex, and that's where the mistakes happen. You got to search your grip. Don't worry about the apex. You got a tarmac ahead of you. Just look at the tarmac here. And Jamie Shaw will possibly be able to do something of a magic here. Can he pull something out of the underhat?
You definitely have to try his very best right now. About 3 minutes left. He can probably put 2 or 3 more laps if he's fast enough. But he needs to get to the 1:31s if he wants to have any chance of catching the group ahead. Usually it looks like the top 4, top 5 fastest drivers are the ones who manage to pull through and pull away from the rest of the pack. Remember, it's the top 2 drivers at the end of this entire sequence that will be getting a shot at going a bit farther in the competition. Right now, Ibrahim clear of the competition by 3/10, another 3/10 to Davlish, just over 3/10 to Davlish. Hari Kripanan still the only other driver in the 1:31s.
I would be surprised that Ibrahim actually did multiple number of laps than Sai Prithvi. So then we would actually talk about the tire degrading, the engine setup, and all of that. So then Ibrahim definitely has the chance to start P1. But let's not discount Sai Prithvi because he possibly his lines were more. I would use the word more flair. Was able more in control. Ibrahim looked as he was like pushing the car to the limit. So then it's going to be a very interesting mix.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just been mixing up ever since qualifying started. Perhaps not in the front few slots, but definitely down below. A lot of drivers leapfrogging their way through that pack, trying to get up on the leaderboard just to maximize their advantage at the race start. But remember, it's one thing to qualify, it's another to keep your car in one piece into turn number 1. As you see, Pratik, one of the drivers at Inox currently is live. He's sitting there in his sim rig driving from Inox. All the participants, special guests, everyone involved who's there at Inox, cheer on for your 3 drivers over there as well. They've worked really hard to get up there into those sim rigs and have a go at this online qualifier as well. Thank you all who've joined us in the live stream as well on YouTube. Cheer for your drivers, show your support. These drivers are all some of the best the country has to offer. As Pratik goes a little deep into that corner, Pratik's pushing to put some lap times on the board. You've got Harsh as well, another driver, and Harshil Jain, one more driver, who are all there at Inox right now pushing from their sim rigs.
You know what? Pratik was defending very, very well. The moment he started defending, he lost the position. That's what I'm talking about. The moment he started defending, the guy ahead just easily got ahead. So I am trying to say that is somewhere down the line, these guys will have to really figure that out. Just keep it to the racing line. Just keep it down to what that wonderful line is going to be, and the moves will come for you. In the meantime, Harshad Jain still on his outlap at the moment. We've got 40 seconds to go. This is going to be close.
It's one of the only drivers who are yet to put the lap time on the board. Remember, we had 19 drivers who were due to show up on the grid, 3 unfortunately not being able to make it here this evening. So we only got 16 drivers on the grid. The 16th driver, Harshwani, still on his outlap. I don't think he's going to be putting a lap time on the leaderboard because there are only 20 minutes left. Only if he crosses, 20 seconds left, my bad. Only if he crosses the start-finish line before the timer runs out, can he start his official lap. Doesn't seem to be the case for him. He's going to have to settle for the last row on the grid.
I think he was in turn 8 or turn 9. That's too much to ask of him. So the checkered flag will be down, and so that will be the timer. Ibrahim, how many laps is he going to be going around the track? So okay, so he's going to have one more go at it. Or is it just to see how his traction come around? So into somewhere between turn number 2 and 3. Remember, he's going to be approaching Simini for number 5 in just a little bit. As Dhaval is saying, again locking up, but somehow manages to muscle the car back onto the track.
Yeah, he's really wrestling that car. He's just got. I mean, this is inevitably, definitely his last lap for sure. Timers have run out. He's gonna want to beat either Cyprus or even Mohammed Ibrahim up front with that 1 minute 31.0. We know he has the pace. He's only about 5 tenths off the pole lap, and he's a driver with great capabilities, great potential. Another driver with a lot of potential, Jamie Shaw, trying to push his way through the pack and try to get up there in the at least the top four. If you are in the first two grid slots, you have a much better chance of staying clear of a lot of mid-pack carnage, which generally happens in races because a lot of drivers kind of reach the bottleneck on track, and if too many try to go through that one section, it's going to lead to a lot of wheel banging. We don't want that, but if you're somewhere down there in the order, you will be stuck in that mid-pack tussle.
I agree with you, but I still believe that somebody who's a Jamie Shaw or Hurry may have an outside chance to finish in the top three as well for sure. Because one, you would always go on to the whole shot, try to cover. Because when you get onto the starting grid, remember after the Curva Grande, you have to somehow muscle that car into tighter corners. So it's going to be pretty interesting as to how they're going to take the starts.
Yeah, it certainly will indeed. We're just waiting for the qualifying results to come up. There we go. Those are the results for you. Ibrahim, Sai Prithvi, Davlish, and Hari lining up the first two rows of this grid, all in the 1 minute 31, spaced out by about 2 to 3 tenths between each of them. Jamie Shaw taking the first spot for the 1 minute 32s at grid slot number 5, followed by Divya, just a few tenths off his pace. Richie and Shantanu lining up the third, or rather the fourth grid row, both the 1 minute 32.7 and 0.9 for Richie and Shantanu respectively. Avinash Gupta and Ritvik lining up in the 1 minute 33.6 and 1 minute 34.8 lap time. So Ritvik is a little bit off pace from Avinash, followed by Prathamesh Pratik and Naveen Balaji rounding off the current grid. These are drivers that have put their lap time on the board, all very fast, all of them capable, Solomon, of really getting some good results on the board. But remember, it's always about surviving that first lap.
Let's look at the lap timing 1 minute 31.024, and then you have a 3 seconds and 3 tenths, and then another 2 tenths. So the top four are under 1 minute 30, so two, which is going to be very interesting. And you have the top eight coming into the 1 minute 31 into 1 minute 32. I look forward to a very intense battle for the third and the fourth for sure, because Hari, Jamie Shaw, Div, and Richie should pile on a little bit of pressure.
They certainly have the potential to. Remember, it's one thing to get your way through that pack, and then it's also important to maintain that consistency, to basically hold your ground as you battle your way through the pack. We've seen multiple drivers lose out quite a bit at the start of these races because they just push their tires a bit too hard in the beginning, and then they just completely clean run themselves off the racetrack. We don't want them to be doing that in this case. We hope they keep it clean and put on some good racing for us.
Keeping it clean. Well, there's going to be a lot of tire lockup, and I hope we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of that. It's going to be a hard task again, my friend.
All right, we're back all set for race number 1 for 20 minutes. This one's going to run for 20 minutes, and then we're going to have a reverse grid race for at least the top 8. The top 8 drivers at the end of this race are going to be reversed on their grid slots for race number 2. Remember, the points from both the races are the ones that are going to be tallied to determine whether the drivers make their way into the Asian qualifiers. But this is your grid right now. We've got Ibrahim and Saipriti on the front row in the green and orange cars. We've got Tavli Singh here in the purple car, followed by another orange car here, Hari Kripanand. And as I say that, I think Saipriti is in the red car. Okay, so that's an easy way to determine who's who. Jamie Shaw in the blue car in 5th position, having another driver for company. Both drivers in the 1 minute 32s, I believe, in their lap times. That is Divya next to him in that green car. Those are your top 6 drivers as we just scan the grid for the remaining drivers on the racetrack.
I was just wondering as to what the strategy is going to be. Are they going to go all out or just let there's equal spacing there? Nice revelry on the cars, isn't it? We got blues, we got orange, we also had a white and a black as well. Nicely said and done.
Certainly has been a good effort from the graphics team as we wait for all the lights to come on, just waiting for them all to go out. The lights go out, everyone launches off. You see a couple of drivers getting brilliant starts, making their way through the center of that line. Already contact between who's that Hari and that was the orange car. Multiple cars completely spun out. Tavli Singh caught in the midst. Looks like Ibrahim and Saipriti off the front row managed to keep it clean. Jamie Shaw in the blue car trying to make a move down the inside. They go 3 wide. He dares not do it. He breaks quite early. Ibrahim holding on to the front, but Jamie Shaw not letting go of second place. He's got Saipriti on the inside of the corner for company with more drivers behind, waiting for an opportunity to take away one of these podium positions.
They're taking very much the tagline Fast and Furious very furiously. In the meantime, you could be having cars going all wide on that corner, cars struggling for grip, no grip on the tires. They will need a little bit of a lap or two to kind of settle down here. In the meantime, Shaw trying to make sure that he takes an early advantage here again, because he clearly understands if Saipriti gets away into the distance, they may not have a chance to put on the onslaught at the moment. Nice view from the driver's point of view.
For sure, these drivers are all pushing here up front, but I believe Tavli Singh must be quite upset with the carnage he endured at the beginning of the race. We might have to see a replay of that. Unfortunately, we don't have a replay function here, but we can have a look at that maybe in the interval between the first and second races to see exactly what happened. But Tavli has found himself here down in P8. Remember, if he holds his position, he will be starting from the front row in the next race for the top 8 being reversed.
I think Dublin doesn't need to worry. The race will come to him. He's got to be a very patient guy here. He's got 18 minutes in his hand. He's just got to concentrate on the lap one after the other, because the Jamie Shaw versus Saipriti versus Ibrahim. Now they are fighting along there. We just talked about Saipriti. Now, when the fight happens, you will definitely lose time again. So on the inside, who gets to the corner first? Well, at the point of time, Jamie Shaw somehow goes on the outside. Now then quickly dives back in. Now Saipriti trying to take advantage of the little bit of a torque, and he's not close enough to somehow come on the outside again. He's closing again, close but not close enough to make that onslaught again. He comes on the outside. He'll be little too late on that right-hander again. Jamie Shaw breaks. Whoa, we had some nervous moments there, didn't we?
Yeah, certainly have. And it looks like for cars that are this small, this heavily mechanically dependent and aero deficient, looks like maybe a wider double apex seems to be the line that works. That's what Jamie did. He stuck to the outside, maximizing the momentum. Saipriti opted for a much tighter line. It does work when you have more aero on the cars, but these cars are mechanically dependent. They don't have as much aero as a Formula 1 car, so you need to adjust your lines a little bit. Looks like Saipriti is again chopped down that gap, but he cannot rest. He's got Divya for company on the inside, who's waiting to make a maneuver. Divya's trying to be a bit more cautious here, trying to pick up the pieces of a potentially messy overtaking maneuver from Saipriti. I don't think he's going to be attempting anything too silly here. He tries to hold it on the outside. So there we go. He's got the idea now. He wants to stick to the outside and maximize momentum. He's already gotten past Jamie Shaw. Shaw now having Divya for company right behind, but he's not giving up, trying to battle it back as they make their way into Chimeni one more time.
Jamie Shaw kind of gets a little bit of squeeze there again, but Jamie Shaw is now the race leader for that one particular corner. And can he hold it together? He just got to keep it. He doesn't need to defend. Somebody will have to take the wider line again, and they will run out of track again. He runs out of track at the point of time. Sai Prithvi so far trying to play like a sniper there. Now this is going to be very interesting. Trying to you guys fight it out, and when you are done, I will take over the lead. Side there you have Sai Prithvi saying Jamie Shaw's got a clear track ahead of him. He's got to be a little bit careful again on the inside. Somebody takes again and losing it out again. Sai Prithvi says thank you very much, Jamie Shaw. Now you can start chasing me again.
Just when I said that battle is about to build up, it looks like Jamie Shaw has lost not one but two places in the span of one hairpin. Now looking at the gearbox of Divya up front, he did not want to let Sai Prithvi pass, but it looks like he's also led past the green car of Divya up ahead. So he's now got to overtake him and get back into Sai Prithvi's slipstream. That's not going to be too much trouble because Divya runs wide, plants himself on the gravel trap, loses out big time, and I think now he's going to be under pressure for Hari Kripanand, who's been quietly sitting there in the background viewing this brilliant battle that's right now being shown on your screens.
You know what? The best part is Ibrahim possibly knew that he had the whole shot, so he took the advantage and went fast. And he knows he's just got to hang on to that lead. Sai Prithvi, in the meantime, just following that fastest lap, 1:31.392. Cannot rest. Sai Prithvi is really making him really suffer and really fight for that positions there. Jamie Shaw. This is Davlish Singh at this point of time. Now, remember, we were talking about somewhere at number 8. Now moves up to position number 5. He's just got to wait for the race to come to him. Now chases down Hari for the fight for the 4th.
Yep, and he gets past, I believe that was Shantanu Kshirssagar right behind him. So Shantanu Kshirssagar has lost another position, but he's still stuck there in P6. Now he's just got to latch onto Davlish's slipstream. Maybe these drivers can work together and make their way up to the front, perhaps like NASCAR, from a drafting train, get their way up there and then go all out for it. Remember, it's consistency. You cannot win it on the first corner, but you can certainly win or lose a race on the final corner. We've got 14 and a half minutes of hardcore, fast-paced, clean racing coming up.
You know what, Shantanu was like holding back the racing for at least about 8 corners. He did really, really well to hold it back. But then it was over a period of time where the straight came in. He just had too much speed that he really couldn't defend. But fair defending by Shantanu made sure that he, as much possible, could delay it. Well, Krish Sagar at this point of time still trying to get the grips. He's got 13 minutes. Maybe lucky, may not be lucky for some, and as we said, not lucky for some. We are at number 13. A lot of things the commentators are speaking today's coming.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be talking about any of those crashes. We'll wait for them to come up on screen, but when they do, we will certainly be talking about them. Richie, speaking of luck, it seems like Richie luckily avoided all the mess that happened over there. He's down in P11. He's quite a far way off the leader space, but he needs to start moving if he wants to get some laps on the board, if he wants to get some points on the board. He's got quite a bit of ground to make up after that start, panning back to the front end of the field. Sai Prithvi spent quite a few laps trying to get past Jamie Shaw, but now you see his true pace. He's starting to pull away from Jamie Shaw. Unfortunately, he might have done this a bit too late, because look at that gap to Ibrahim. It's somewhere between 5 and 8 seconds, looking at that dynamic delta on the left of your screen. He's quite a far way down the road.
You know what, I was just thinking, if you're looking at Sai Prithvi's car and Ibrahim, there's not much of a weaving that is happening. So I need to ask you, Sai, so are they still searching for grip? Are they unsure where the grip is? Well, we just talked about the grip, and Hari almost lost that grip on that corner.
Yeah, I don't think they're worried about breaking any slipstream, that's for sure. They're just trying to take it one corner at a time. We've seen the most unlikely of drivers spinning themselves out, so anything can happen. Remember, we had this battle between, I believe that was Hari Kripanand and Jamie Shaw. Remember, Hari ran off wide at the exit of one of those turns. It's just a momentary lapse of concentration that can cost you big time. I'll tell you one person who's been making a lot of ground this side. It's Davli Singh, menacingly coming up to the rear wing of Hari Kripanand. You can see from that rear view camera. We ride on board with Davli Singh as he tries to make a maneuver, has to avoid a spinning car up front. That's Jamie Shaw, who spun himself off at the final corner. He's got some damage for sure. He's gonna have to make his way back up this entire pack of drivers. There we go. He's lost a lot of momentum and surely gonna be losing a lot of seconds on the cars up ahead.
Well, Jamie Shaw is having a lot of poker luck today. He was part of the top three, and there was a lot of comic turns that's been happening with him. Now he's out of the top five. Now Jamie Shaw will have to rework that hard work one more time again. But even if he does that, I do not see him at the point of time to finishing in the top five at the moment.
I mean, there's still quite a lot of time left, 11 and a half minutes on the board. At least a good 6 to 7 laps, I would say, of racing next time by. So Jamie Shaw is obviously trying to climb his way back up, but he's 18, about 19 seconds off the leader's space. He needs to first overtake Avinash and Shantanu to get a shot. But those two drivers, Avinash and Shantanu, are definitely not going to be making life any easier for Jamie. These two drivers also trying to get up to the podium spots and potentially battle for the win. It looks like the only way someone's going to win now is if Ibrahim runs into some trouble. Who is that purple car over there? Was that? I'm not sure who that was. Yeah,
We'll check that out a little.
That was, you're right.
I was just thinking the way Ibrahim was actually speaking on those corners around it, he was very, very slow. He can afford to be very slow. He's not attacking the corners as he needs to. And now things are just played for a script where he just needs to hang in and bring that beauty home.
Yep. The battle up front is far from over, though. Looking at that gap between Sai Prithvi and Davli Singh, who's on your screen right now, we saw those two drivers having some really tight battles in the previous few races back in grid number 1. They were the first grid to have their shootout, the battle on track on Saturday on the on track battle. So those two drivers, once they come together, are gonna also be battling it out pretty hard. They want to overtake each other. They want to maintain, they want to get second place, but remember, first place is running away in all this time, so maybe they can potentially work together and get their way up there. Time is running out now. We're just under 10 minutes, more than 50% done. They are running out of time if they want to mount a charge on P1.
And then Jamie Shaw was on the attack right now. Now this is going to be, I thought he almost had him on that corner till he went wide and locked up. Now he's got to be almost goes deep into that corner, tries to get back onto the curbs a little bit earlier. Up throttle down as he tries and watches the car ahead of him. He's got two cars ahead of him. He knows he can push him to the top five.
Certainly has the potential for sure. He's already caught up to Avinash Gupta. This is the next battle that will start building itself up shortly. They make their way through the S's. I believe we're going to see an overtaking maneuver or an attempt for it at the heavy braking zone, at the double apex, at the next lap.
Right, I presume it should be just around the home straight or turn 6 and turn 7, because Jamie Shaw possibly has learned his lesson, saying that let me get to that moment, and then okay, this is the moment where he should come in. Does he come on the outside? No, he doesn't. He decides to follow the car. It's too late to make that overtaking maneuver unless and until he's going to slap him down there. No, he still follows him, and that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Come on, put it on the outside. Park your car where your rival does not want to see. The old school of overtaking is when you're overtaking someone, you need to be seen so that you know that you got to be overtaken. That's a very, very good move by Jamie Shaw.
Certainly is a very good move. He's taken it brilliantly through that section, just timed it perfectly. He's got past one rival. He has to now get past Shantanu up ahead if he wants to then start chasing down the leading pack, who are all about 10 seconds away from everyone else on the grid. Looking at the gap between P4 and P5. Davli Singh has not quite caught up with Sai Prithvi, but I'll tell you what, Sai Prithvi has caught up to Ibrahim. I'm not sure if Ibrahim ran into some trouble or he's just taking it easy, or maybe he's slowing down, waiting for these drivers to catch up to have a real battle on his hands. It really depends on what's going on in his mind. I don't think he's going to be taking this too lightly or trying to throw away the win, but that gap did definitely go down quite rapidly for a second.
So then you have 7 minutes and you have over 8 seconds. So you need to shell about 1 second every lap. So I would still believe Ibrahim is in luck unless and until he makes a mistake.
We've got some more drivers at the back end of the grid. A lot of drivers who are close to each other. We've got Naveen, Balaji and Richie quite close to each other. We've got Prathamesh and Jamie Shaw within 2-3 seconds of each other. Those seem to be the main battles that could be brewing up in another few corners' time. Richie up front. Naveen Balaji chasing him down in the black and white car.
You know what? I was just thinking the way Pratmesh was just giving that little show there with the tire locking up. It almost like was a celebration of a tire lockup. There was a lot of smoke up in the air, but then he's clearly struggling on what will be the ideal lines for him. This is definitely going to add to his experience. Again, just to go back onto your point about the top eight reverse. So Jamie Shaw, given the fact where he is right now, contact there almost, and he would possibly start at number three the next race.
Yeah, it looks like if you reverse the top eight right now, Jamie Shaw is looking for a P3 start for the second race. I don't think he's really worried about that. All he wants is maximum points in this race. Trying to get past Shantanu, he's just trying to keep it clean. We saw him avoid some traffic there. Oh no, he's coming up to some traffic over here. I believe that was Harshwani who was getting lapped. Harsh having quite a lonely race at the back, but he can pick up. If he picks up the pace, he can start challenging for P12. Pratik right up ahead. Harshil behind them. These three drivers all at Inox. Unfortunately, Harsh spinning into that corner. Was that contact, Solomon? I was looking at the leaderboard.
No, there was no contact. There was no contact there. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You know, when somebody just starts chasing you from behind on this particular track, you tend to make mistakes, and there's quite a big mistake there. So Prathamesh joins in into the party as well. Now Jamie Shaw slowly. Look at the lead that he's picked over 8 seconds on the battle for the sixth and the seventh. But Shantanu is right ahead. He's still got to catch up with him, maybe for another 3 or 4 seconds. This is going to be interesting. 5 minutes to go. Top five is still very much on, but he needs to put it up. 4 seconds gap is between Ibrahim and Sai Prithvi. This is going to be very interesting. As I see the 6 seconds, it almost comes up to. Ibrahim made not one, two mistakes on two corners. He's got to be a little bit careful.
He's just threading his way through all of the back markers, which he's already started lapping. So look at that. It's just been 15 minutes into this race. He's already lapping quite a few drivers. He's got one up front for company. Hopefully they respect the blue flag conditions and move out of the way because he doesn't want to get held up too much. Sai Prithvi is just mounting he's just starting to chase him down right now. He's trying to find his way through these back markers.
Wow, this is going to be supremely interesting. The back markers have pulled in. The Ibrahim is like, what
So
have
unfortunate.
you done? Did we know that? Sai Prithvi says, you know what? It's game on, hammer time. Bring the hammers out. The back markers have brought in a new script to the entire game again. Let's go racing. Let's go sprinting. Sai Prithvi on Ibrahim. On the whole shot here. He's
I don't
on the
think that's Sai
outside.
Prithvi. No,
Okay.
that's not Sai Prithvi. That is the back marker. But
That's what the
Ibrahim
back
getting
markers
caught
coming
out.
in. But where is Sai Prithvi now?
He's back there in that red car. He can see him. Ibrahim can see him in his mirrors. But that was supreme car control from Ibrahim as well. Remember, did you see that? He got tapped, he got spun, did a 360, caught the tires at the right point. He basically just predicted and felt the slip angle in the FFB of his wheel, caught that car, slammed on the throttle, and he's back in action, having lost almost no time. Look at that, Solomon. He's lost.
Sai Prithvi is also fighting with the back marker.
Oh, he gets taken out by back marker. The back marker sends him into the gravel trap. W Singh is going to be there to pick up the pieces. And that is P2 straight out of Sai Prithvi's grasp. A back marker taking him out into turn number 7.
So it's the top two fighting with the back two. I mean, the guys at the bottom there. It was a pretty interesting thing. So then the back markers really put in. I really thought that Sai Prithvi could have actually used that opportunity, would have gone sprinting, but no, it wasn't to be. But then I just look at it. It still looks like Ibrahim is still trying to get past the back markers. He possibly says that maybe the race could be coming to a close very quickly.
Race is coming into absolute shambles. That driver needs to move out of the way. Once again, takes out Davli Singh. Sai Prithvi now goes through. Who is the driver that is being involved in all? That has been involved in all of this carnage? He's cost quite a few positions. We're back to square one. Davli Singh chasing down Sai Prithvi, who's chasing down the driver up ahead, Ibrahim, who's made up a lot of time.
You see that it was synchronized going off. They actually synchronized as they went off that right-hand corner. Both of them went off the corner around the same particular time again. Hari is now in an epic battle down for the third and the fourth. Devlin Singh has done well to keep it at number 3. Sai Prithvi stays at number 2. But the gaps is now increasing. Now Ibrahim can actually breathe easy.
Look at that. Hari Kripanand now trying to make his move. So Naveen Balaji, who's the one in the blue car, was involved in a little bit of the tussle with these front runners up there. The stewards are not going to be happy about that. Surely not, because it has sort of played into the hands of some of the drivers up front. It has affected the dynamics of this race. But we are back to square one right now. Sai Priti chasing down Ibrahim. Davli Singh trying to fight his way back through the pack. Remember, he's got Hari for company. Hari pushing it a bit too much at the exit of that corner, or rather at the apex of that corner, spinning himself out. And now Shantanu has taken away P4. Jamie Shaw up for company to also take away position from Hari Kripanand, going down to P6. So Jamie Shaw and Shantanu have also leapfrogged their way up through the pack.
I thought they were attempting a Scandinavian drift, which is only known with Kimi Räikkönen and Mika Häkkinen, but then that's a little bit later. All the cars trying to do a little bit of drifting there, not something which I would really recommend. I was just hoping Jamie Shaw was able to get into the top 5. Yes, he has. So from number 7, which looked very unlikely, he's now into the top 5.
Once again, Naveen Balaji has some company from behind, taking the sausage curve, moving out of the way, letting through one of the faster drivers up front. But I think we're in the closing stages of the race. Solomon, we've got 1 minute, just about 1 minute left. Depending on where Ibrahim is on track, it's either going to be the final lap or it's going to be the penultimate one. He's just going through I think that's sector number 1. So yeah, this is the final lap. He just makes his way down the back street into turn number 7. He's been chilling up front, not really facing too many issues apart from the little pinball spin a few laps ago. But I think he'll be breathing a sigh of relief right now. He doesn't have any back markers anywhere close for company. I think he's got this in the bag.
I thought he was shouting in the back market, say, "Hey, you're not the one racing with me. I'm the one who's racing against you." So that the friendly battle that just went around with the back marker kind of really put it up into perspective. But then let's look at the top 5. Ibrahim, Davlin Singh 2, Sai Prithvi 3, Shantanu 4, Jamie Shaw 5.
Yeah, really unfortunate the incidents that happened over there. I know it's kind of difficult, especially when you're running at the tail end of the field, to be able to see drivers in the mirror. But it's part of the game where you need to be a bit aware. Hopefully, that's not affected the championship too much, because remember we do have another race coming up, so it's not all over yet. You know, drivers still have a good chance of battling each other out. It's just the relative positionings for the start of grid 2 is going to be a bit wary for some of these drivers, and also the points that they take away in this race is also going to be determined by the finishing order. Ibrahim crossing the line to take away P1. He takes 25 solid points from this race, and he's going to be delighted to have held on to P2. Sai Prithvi running into some trouble somewhere in the closing stages. Looks like he's going to have to settle for P3, while Davli Singh takes off P2. Wait. Okay, yeah, so that was not a bug. Yep. So something happened to Sai Prithvi at the end, and he's gotten into P3.
And the drama continues, sir. And the drama continues. We still have everything going for Sai Prithvi. So finally, will have to be contended with number 3. Although he knew he could have really challenged him and could have.
I'm just thinking if I missed something over there, because didn't Sai Prithvi get a commanding lead over Davli Singh after some of those incidents? Was there another tussle which I'm forgetting about? I'm not quite sure, but it looks like Davli Singh did finish in P2, Sai Prithvi settling for P3. I believe Hari Kripanand also finished P4. That relative timing screen over there is a little shuffled right now. We need to wait for the final results to see exactly where everyone finished. But yeah, I think that race through almost everything we could have hoped for a race, Solomon. That's been some ultimate pandemonium.
Everything we hoped over, everything which Sai Prithvi did not hope for. So that's exactly what happened, and that's racing for you. Naveen Balaji parked his car on the tarmac. He will like to go back to the pit lane.
We're just waiting for everyone to return to the pits so that we see the final classification for this race. As we see Avinash Gupta still trying to make his way through. I'm quite sure he would have crossed the line by now, because he's somewhere at the beginning of the next lap. So he's finished his race. He's just doing his in lap, respectfully finding his way back into the pits.
So then Sai Prithvi in the next race, this time he finishes number 4. He's going to start at 4 as well. Even it's going to be a reverse finish. Right. So, he's going to start at 5. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, Saipriti is going to start five. He'll have the charging Davli Singh right behind, and Ibrahim, the unofficial fastest driver on track from race number one, charging through the pack as well. I think Ibrahim is going to really want to get past those two because they're not going to make life easy for him. They need to win this race if they want to have a mathematical chance of getting into the finals. It's going to be two of those three. Looking at the pace that they've had, it's just a question of who it's going to be. So there you go. Those are your final results on screen. We will get back to those specific results after the small break.
Super amazing, it's super thrilling. The game is too good. It gives you a real car, an F1 car feeling.
Obviously there are like 4 more days, so I'm gonna practice more so I can have the best lap.
My name is Abhijit and my timing is 1:52. This is my first time in simulator where I tried my timing and the experience is very amazing. Tomorrow I'll get into 1:50 for sure.
Guys, I'm from RSN. So this was my first time on the simulator, but I've done go-karting before. But yeah, this was like really fun. I had a good experience.
Alrighty, into race number 2 we go. The final race of this qualifier series. Solomon, we had some absolute chaos on track at the end of the previous race. Drivers getting taken out, drivers swapping positions. I think one person will be happy with the result though. That is Mohammed Ibrahim, who will be starting P8. Remember, this is the reverse grid. These are the drivers who will be starting their positions as you see on screen. So I had a look at the replay just at the end of the previous race, and it looks like there was some sort of a spin perhaps from Sai Prithvi at the end, which is why Davlish Singh overtook him on the last lap. Just waiting for the in-game timer to run itself out, finish its own little starting sequence. As we see those grayed out lights up front, waiting for all the lights to start for the starting sequence to begin. There we go, 3, 4, 5, 6 lights all light up as we wait for them to go out. There they go right now as they all... Ooh, what was that? There we go. We were focusing on the wrong car over there, but everyone got a good launch. Here, Avinash Gupta already has a lot of people for company at the side over here. Both of them getting, both the orange cars going around on the outside. Got sandwiched there. Lost a couple of positions in the span of one corner. A lot of contact at the back. That's not what you want to see. A lot of contact over there. Sai Prithvi tapping. I believe that was somebody. Was that a purple car? Was that the purple car of Davli Singh? We need to wait for the leaderboard to refresh itself, but too much chaos with just about 10% of the beginning of first lap completed, cars all over the place. This is not what you want to see at the start of the final race of this qualifier series. We wait for Solomon to solve a small little technical issue, a small little audio glitch. We just wait for him to join in. But meanwhile, that's Sai Prithvi. So he was involved in some sort of contact at the beginning with a purple car. Now the question is, was that Davli Singh? I believe it could have been, because he's down in P7. Ibrahim is in P8. Sai Prithvi way down in P15, making up one spot right now, chasing down Harshwani, Jamie Shaw up front. All these drivers missing out a lot in the beginning. A purple car straight into the wall again. Harshil Jain having a brilliant start, jumping into P4 right now. Avinash Gupta getting slammed on the side pod by two cars over there. Cars everywhere. This is not what you want to see. A very messy start to this race. Cars spinning around everywhere. Richie jumping back onto the racetrack, holding on to P6. Absolute carnage. I can't even keep track of what's happened on lap number 1, but we have Hari Kripanand way out in front, running away with this race. Prathamesh behind him, and Shantanu wrapping up the top 3 currently. Ibrahim making his way around the long double right-hand sequence of turns 4 and 5, already on the gearbox of Richie up front. Richie opting to go for the inside line. Ibrahim liking to stick to his outside line, which he has been taking consistently for the past few races that he's done. Richie taking a bit too much from the tires, going straight out. That looked like a bit of netcode. There we go. That was netcode. He's back on track. So those sort of little glitches happen sometimes if there's some sort of instability in the internet connection. There he goes again, but surely he will be glitching back into view any second. Does he show up? No, he does not. So it looks like Richie has completely glitched out over there and got straight on. Not sure where he is. He's still on the leaderboard. There he goes, dropping down. Looks like Richie's got a disconnection. Very unfortunate for him, but Ibrahim will be happy to take P5. Davlish up front in P4, and the other super fast driver, Sai Prithvi, all the way back up to P8, fighting his way through the pack. He's not giving up. He wants the top spot. He wants to make his way through this qualifier. Davli Singh already going for the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 32.237, pulling away from Ibrahim. This is what he wants. He wants to take P1 in this race so that he can maximize his points total by the end of these two grid races. Prathamesh up front, trying to make a move on Hari Kripanand. Davlish can see all this action from the back. He's got Shantanu up ahead. He needs to line this up perfectly so that he can start fighting his way through the rest of the pack. Sai Prithvi still stuck in P8, not quite sure what he's doing. He's trying to find his way around Harshil. Davlish dives down the inside, goes a bit too deep, and that is Shantanu fighting back, taking away P3. Davlish opting to stick on the AstroTurf to maximize his exit. Now he has the inside line, has to brake very smartly here. Does so quite cleanly. A little bit of a wheel tap over there, but nothing that both drivers would really complain about, given nobody spun out over there. Relatively clean. Davlish gets into P3. Now Ibrahim has to bounce back and start fighting through. There's a big gap between Ibrahim and Shantanu, so not sure what happened to Ibrahim at the start, but he has lost out a bit, as you can see Davlish flying away up front. riding on board with Ibrahim as he makes his way through the S's as he gets into the final corner of this lap. He's got to start making some ground right now. 15 minutes left in the race, about 25% already finished, and so much chaos has happened. There's no idea, there's no clue of what has happened over there. Cars spilling across the racetrack, car parts littered across the circuit on lap number 1. Not what you want to see, but it looks like everyone's at least gotten into a rhythm. Davlish Singh in P3, eyeing P2 up front, trying to push his way through. Hari Kripanand has been keeping it very clean, minding his business, and he's found himself way up in P1, and he's continuing to push, but not for long if this is the pace that Davlish Singh has to offer. Holds onto the back of Prathamesh, trying to time it perfectly. He made a maneuver at the next corner in the previous lap. Not quite close enough this time around, but he fancies having a go on the outside. Makes it stick for the first half, makes it stick for the second half as well, as he launches off with better grip on the outside, less of a radius, less G-force acting on your car, a lot more grip if you can control the throttle. Ibrahim way down at the back, you can see him in that green car. He's just weaving his way through. I don't know what's happened to Ibrahim, but he's not showing the same pace he did in the previous race. He's now caught up to this pack. Shantanu up front, Prathamesh up front as well. Shantanu and Prathamesh do not want to concede these positions. They want to stay there. They want to hold on to a chance to get a podium spot. Ibrahim going for a maneuver on the inside. It looks like Shantanu just went wide a little, but he's fighting back. That is the switchback he was targeting. He's got a better run. Ibrahim is on the inside, but Shantanu has the momentum. Now he has the slipstream. Right on the tail of Ibrahim he goes, trying to go on the inside. Ibrahim defending that brilliantly, forcing Shantanu on the outside. Shantanu decides to stick with him for a bit more time. Not sure how he's made the aero work there, but he's gone around the outside, holding it, going for the outside line. This is what some of the drivers before were doing in the previous race, trying to maximize the momentum. Not quite making it work over here, but he has the pace. Some really good driving from both drivers. Really good pace from Shantanu, holding on to Ibrahim. He's latching onto that slipstream, fancying a chance at getting up front. There we go. Welcome back, Solomon.
Thank you very much for that. I think welcome to internet glitches and as well a lot of glitches on the track as well. I was trying to shout on top of my voice when I saw Ibrahim really making up from the right and back. This is going to be very interesting and special for him if he's able to do 2 in 2. So it's not going as per script. The one Mr. Saiprithvi.
Yes, Saiprithvi indeed. He's down in P6. Might be taking P5 right now. You see him storming down that sequence of corners in that red car. Looks so menacing as he charges his way through. He's got sight of Shantanu now. Once he makes his way past him, he's got to catch up to Ibrahim. Davlish 2 spots ahead of Ibrahim. Way out in P2, slowly closing the gap to P1.
So this is going to be very interesting. So here is Saiprithvi. Come on, he's got a car ahead of him. How much we like this? We like contest. We really like cars taking on each other. So he's brought it down from 10 car lengths to about 5. Make that about 4. Now he stretches out into that car ahead. Davlish Singh will hit on fastest lap. Would you believe it? This is really been the surprise of this race. Saiprithvi now very, very close to make that attack there again. Down on the inside, stays as close as possible to the apex. He knows he cannot make a mistake somewhere.
Davlish is a man on a mission right now, but it doesn't look like his fastest lap has made much of a dent on P1. Hari Kripanand holding his ground. One person who is under pressure right now is Shantanu, with Saiprithvi charging down the inside, holding that position. But remember, he's not quite close enough right now. This has to be a really precisely executed move. There we go. Saiprithvi takes the inside, makes it stick, and he launches off. Now Shantanu needs to maintain his momentum and stick with this pack. Prathamesh right up front. This is a 3-way battle for P4 right now. Contact as Shantanu goes straight into the differential of Saiprithvi. Saiprithvi charging back, pulling through. That was just a switchback and a half right there.
So then for 2 corners, they've actually exchanged positions twice already. So now Shantanu is saying that he was possibly a little upset and just couldn't control his car. No harm done. So Saiprithvi can go on and chased on to the top 2 at least. There is an outside chance to stay in the top 4 though.
There we go, riding on board right behind him. You see there in the background Saiprithvi coming up. trying to make a maneuver. He's not that close this time around, but he will be getting a small benefit from the slipstream. Not as much though, as Shantanu is getting right behind him over there. You can see Shantanu, that purple car, way behind, also getting a bit of a slipstream. There's going to be a bit of a non-existent DRS train, I would say. It's a slipstream train over here, but this is still turning out to be a riveting battle for P4.
Sai Prithvi was trying to shake off Shantanu, but now Shantanu has fallen back. Now Sai Prithvi ahead of him. Now there's going to be a very interesting overtaking maneuver. Can we just get into Sai Prithvi's car as he takes on Prathamesh now? This is going to be very interesting. If you're able to get to the eagle's eye view of where's it through Sai Prithvi's car. Where is Sai Prithvi? Hari is right still ahead of him. W Singh steals at number 2. Ibrahim will be a little disappointed with that number 3, but then he's up at least 5 places from where he started.
Hari definitely holding his ground quite well, just maintaining that gap. He's just got to run out the timer right now. It's 9.5 minutes. Those are going to be the longest 9.5 minutes of his life if he wants MP1.
This is the battle that you and I watch now. Now let's just watch how closely it is. There's a little bit of caution where Cyprus, because Cyprus has learned from his lessons. He possibly thinks that the car ahead of him may not have that much control to basically somehow put that pressure back on him. Now he's trying to get a mistake out of Prathamesh. Prathamesh knows if he's not able to cover the edges, gives a little bit of room. Cyprus is possibly going to take it again. He's on the charge now, almost trying to showing him the bluff. Now where is that corner where he's going to take that overtaking maneuver? It's so nice to see a car being followed around. This is going to be very interesting. Little bit, so much, so close that he's going to possibly take a little charge of that slipstream, comes slowly around it. This is the time to go around it, tries to go on the outside. This is the time where, can he get to the corner first? Yes, he can, but he's got to make it stick. He's well, in the meantime, Prathamesh fights back again. It's beautifully done by Sai Prithvi. He's just somehow goes wide out of the track again. He's got to do it one more time again.
Prathamesh is not giving up, brilliantly switching back, holding on to the inside line. Sai Prithvi got a bit of a run through those S's, sticking on the outside, but then got hung out to dry. This time around, he's on the inside line, goes in, doesn't outbrake himself, but he has less momentum. Remember, Prathamesh has more momentum on the outside, having pressed the brakes a lot less, carried more speed through the corner, but it doesn't look like he's close enough, and he has to concede that position right now. Prathamesh will want to stick to this, stick to the driver up front though, because he is already starting to pull away a little bit. Sai Prithvi is about 1 second already is the delta. Sai Prithvi is not going to be worried about that. He wants to catch up with Ibrahim and Davlish, the two drivers who could potentially be the ones he has to beat to get into the finals.
Racing where both these two given space taken, but then Sai Prithvi had the last laugh, but then beautifully defended by Prathamesh, because he somehow managed to keep him for a bit. He had to take the wider line, just go on the outside in order to make that overtaking maneuver stick. A lot of hard work for Sai Prithvi today. W Singh brought down that deficit from 5 seconds to under 3 or under 3.5. So now, as I'm talking to you right now, it is under 3. So this is getting interesting. W Singh is on the charge. 7 minutes to go. Jamie Shaw at number 8. Can Jamie Shaw move up? A lot of contests happening around the track. 7 versus 8, Hari versus Davlish, Sai Prithvi on the charge on the ground.
Another battle there, 6 and 5. Shantanu and Prathamesh battling it out over there. You can see the gap is quite small. Another couple of drivers who will be trying to make up as many points as they can in the second race. Hari Kripanan just about 2 seconds ahead of Davlish effectively right now. So he's got him for company, and he can't rest because Ibrahim is right behind him as well. 2 charging drivers, 1 driver solidly driving up front, Hari Kripanan. He has to defend if he wants his victory. 6 minutes, about 4 laps of racing. Anything can happen, Solomon. Anything can happen, as we've seen in the past.
We are possibly under 1 second. So it was on the straight line where he got about 1.6. He's bringing that deficit down. Ibrahim is also thinking that he's getting interested in this contest as well. Davies for a moment went slightly wide, but did in hand down. He's got to keep it tight. He's got to know that the race is coming to him. Hari is slowing down a little bit. He's not having the pace that he enjoyed earlier on. The cushion is just not there.
Remember, these two drivers are trying to catch up, but if Hari starts defending, one person will definitely be happy about that. That is Sai Prithvi, who can make up the time he's lost from all the little back marker tussles. So if that gap reduces, we could have a four-way battle for the victory of this race, and that is something that'll be really exciting to watch. It all depends on how this battle builds up. Hari Kripanan coming up to some more traffic, I believe, over there. Yes,
Gentlemen, you just spoke. You talked about back markers. Here they are, right ahead of him. Now this is going to be very interesting. Ibrahim really knew the last time around how he suffered with the back markers. Now this time, Hari is very much aware. Blue flags will be waving quick time again. But will they get out of the way? Hari does not have that much space to get past the back marker. This means Sai Prithvi has brought it down to less than a second. This is going to be interesting. Back marker says, "Thank you very much. I get out of the way." But again,
looks like back marker slams into Hari Kripanan, the leader of the race, taken out straight into the gravel traps. Very unfortunate, disappointing to see that as a car's parked there on the grass. Davli Singh would be happy to make his way past the back marker quite easily. Now Ibrahim has to make his way past this driver as well to start charging and trying to catch up and potentially overtake Davli Singh. Sai Prithvi back there has made up a bit of time from all of this chaos of weaving on track, but Hari Kripanan, so unfortunate for him, having held such a good cross, having held his ground at the front of the pack, has gotten taken out and he's dropped down to P3. He's got Sai Prithvi for company down in P4.
I believe Sai Prithvi now relishes an opportunity to finish into the top three, the podium finish that we'll be looking at right now. Really saying wanted this badly. Ibrahim is about 2 seconds behind him. This is really turning out to be a cliffhanger contest. Hari now somewhere would be hoping that he's able to hold on, because Sai Prithvi is still way back. He somehow can just nurse that car back home.
Yeah, he's a good way back, but I mean, if he picks up the pace, he can still battle for P3. But it looks like Davlish and Ibrahim are again the ones who will be taking away P1 and P2 as it stands. 3.5 minutes left in this race, about 2 to 3 laps left in the race, depending on where Ibrahim is. I believe it's going to be another 3 laps because Ibrahim's probably starting the next lap. Hari Kripanan once again trying to get past this driver. A bit of wheel banging over there, but he gets away brilliantly. Now he has to just run away and start catching up with the drivers up front. Ibrahim a good 5 seconds up front. That gap between Ibrahim and Davlish has been really small for the past few laps. I think this is the battle we really want to watch right now. P1 and P2 going for it for maximum points in race number 2.
You know what, I was just thinking, when the back marker came in front of Hari, he actually let him go past, but he almost lost control. It was just bad luck. And sometimes you need to have luck that can favor you a little bit. And he kind of let him go ahead, but it just got back in and somehow rammed into him, right back taking him out of on the track there.
Yeah, the gap has been consistent for the past few laps. I think these two are in a deadlock right now, both having the same lap times. It's really about the first driver that will falter, the first one that will make a mistake. Neither of these two seem to be doing that. They've both won their individual races back in their own grid slots. Ibrahim from yesterday, Davlish from Saturday, both of them winning both races from their grid slots. Very capable drivers, both extremely fast. We can't discount Sai Prithvi or Hari Kripanan either back at the back. Both have shown brilliant racing in this, brilliant forms of racing, brilliant skill in this race, and both of them still have a chance because these two are not going to concede their position. They're going to battle it out till the very end, and for the sake of Hari Kripanan and Sai Prithvi, potentially Shantanu, they would want to see that, because you know what, that means the victory is up for grabs.
Davli Singh went out of the track for a little bit, just overcooked that particular corner, and in the bargain has lost about half a second. Now Richie and Harshal Jain, where they involved in a collision? Well, there is action happening at the back. There's action happening everywhere. Let's get back to the front. The gap has come down from 1.9 seconds to about less than a second. This is going to be a charge here again. There is Ibrahim. Right ahead in front of him is Davli Singh. He should make sure doesn't overcook a corner.
This is the last lap of the race, everybody, as they cross the line. Just about a minute on the clock. 1.5 minute lap here. They're surely on the final lap. This is the final chance Ibrahim has to take away P1 in the second race as well. He already won the first one, and he would surely want to take a double victory. But if these two get P1 and P2, they will be the drivers with the most amount of points. Both of them having switched positions in the last two races. Both getting, if I'm not mistaken, 43 points, having an 18 and a 25 haul. No points for the fastest lap, unfortunately, but Ibrahim will surely want victory as he makes his way through turn number 7, a long right-hander flat over here. If anything, you need to be extremely careful for the next sequence of corners.
You could not have scripted this better. The qualifying is done, so is the practice, and the first race is done. And now it comes down to this. With 25 seconds to go, less than a second separating the top two. Ibrahim won the previous race. Can he do 2 in 2? The one man who can actually stop him is WC. He is doing it well so far, putting the car where Ibrahim does not want to see. He's not slowing it down. Of course, the number of car length has come down from number 10 to number 5. Now using the advantage of the slipstream, using the advantage of the straights to try and somehow shake him off, but Ibrahim still follows him through. This could be a very interesting auto finish.
Unfortunately, the lap has come to a close. We all want to see more racing, but this is how the order stands. Navneet Singh will be delighted to take P1, having had to fight his way back in the previous grid, having had to fight his way through in this grid. He goes on to take P1. Ibrahim rounds off the second place on the podium. Both drivers scoring the same amount of points in total from the two races. Hari Kripan and the brilliant drive from him taking P3. Sai Prithvi has to settle for P4, having been involved in an unfortunate incident at the beginning of the race. Shantanu coming in P5, one of the drivers who had a good chance of getting on the podium as well. Brilliant praise from him. Prathamesh rounding off the top 6. Divya right behind him, also charging up. That's been ultimately a very chaotic race. A lot of incidents that could have been avoided, but I think the top two drivers, Solomon, will be extremely happy with that result.
It was like, come on, bring out the checker flag, bring out the checker flag. But then they held their nerve. It was a good contest. It was a very, very good contest towards the end, and they really drew it out. You couldn't have written it better.
Yeah, and before we wrap up the stream, this has been organized by the ESFI. Remember, the ESFI has also selected an 18-member esports team for the Asian Games in 2022, which got postponed. But for Dota, League of Legends, Street Fighter, Hearthstone, FIFA, now we see Simracing on the screen, but there are a lot of other games out there, a lot of other esports competitions out there that have been a part of the bigger picture. It's the first time esports has been included as a medal sport in Asian Games. Last Asian Games in 2018. Esports was included as a demonstration event, and ESFI got bronze in esports in Hearthstone. So a lot of exciting things going around. IR Esports, Inox, and Artspin, the partners in this event. I'm sure everyone's enjoyed this. A big shout out for everyone who's at the Inox Theatre right now, being involved in this project. This has been absolute carnage. As we just jump back and see the final results, let me just have a look at the screen so we wait for that to be displayed.
For a time, it has been for the rest of them, isn't it?
Yeah. We've seen that. Navneet Singh taking 25 points. Ibrahim 18. Hari Kripanan getting a good 15 points. Sai Prithvi having to take just 12. Shantanu getting 10 points from that. Prathamesh, Divya, Ritvik, and Jamie Shaw all taking away a point. Harshal Jain as well, I believe, taking away a point. So that's a really good drive by Harshal. The remaining drivers, unfortunately, not making the point, making enough ground to get points on the board. But this has been an absolutely riveting contest. Some of the best driving, some of the most intense driving I've seen in esports in quite a while.
You wouldn't have expected. Both the races were decided by the back markers. That's what I was going to tell you. That they brought in that comic turn. Now I'm sure, as race organizers, we're going to be sitting and chatting with them, saying, "Hey, when you are a back marker, let the leaders pass by, give way, stick to your racing line. They'll find a way around you." So it's got to be a little bit touch and go there for sure.
So we're just waiting for the final results to actually come up, where we have the points total for everyone. But we did see Navneet and Ibrahim taking the front two spots in both the races, so inevitably they will be in the front. But it'll be a good idea. It'll be good to see, Solomon, the totals for the rest of the drivers, just to have a relative comparison of which drivers could have actually made it up there, which drivers had a potential shot at actually getting into the top two.
I was pretty surprised towards the end that when I saw Jamie Shaw dropping in from 5 to 7 and then eventually at number 9. So not the weekend that he really hoped for. Sai Prithvi would have looked around and said this was a possibly a chance for him to actually win a race, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I see someone in the comments saying that's not racing, that was bumper cars. Unfortunately, we did witness some collisions there, but for what it was worth, for the clean racing that we saw, it was some pretty tight wheel to wheel action, some brilliant driving from the faster cars out there that managed to make it stick without collisions. And I think that's what we want to really take away from this. Some of the positives, some of the better aspects of the racing we saw here. Definitely, the stewards will be looking into penalties for some of the other drivers. Very unfortunate for those who were involved in some of those collisions, but those are just some of the aspects, I believe, of sim racing. Something that is always going to be there in a competitive environment, I believe.
You know what? I will again. Let's just go back to the track. Now, this is the grand Valencia when we talk about it. You got to keep it very technical. It's only between turn 6 and 7. We did see a lot of overtaking maneuvers, but then it was on the tighter right-handers. And most of the overtaking maneuvers, you need to make sure somewhere is planned much earlier than a lap before, because it cannot be one of those places where you can look at a space and you just take it.
Indeed, of course the race directors will also be looking at some of these overtakes and what's happened there. The stewards as well. Feroz and Tanuj are race directors. They've been doing a brilliant job bringing all that action, showing you what's been going on over there. We both have had a great time. Basically explaining, painting the picture of what's been happening on screen, Solomon. But we need to still wait for that grand result, for the final result, just to see the totals, because it'll actually be interesting to see who has taken away P3. I can't quite compute it right now because I don't remember the previous results.
Well, what we do know is that it's not gone as per plan for Sai Prithvi. He would hope that something else could have worked in his favor.
Yeah.
Interesting thing was, where Jamie Shaw dropped a lot of space. Ibrahim was catching towards the end, and I actually thought that was really turning out to be a delicious contest towards the end. And again, back Marcus got involved, so that's where the whole interesting script is.
Yeah, can definitely not be scripted. I'll tell you that. It's just all sorts of unexpected twists and turns. Sai Prithvi definitely one of the drivers who will not be pleased with getting the worst deal from those cards dealt to him. He's had a bit of a collision in the first race as well, so very unfortunate incidents for him. If you look at me, if you ask me, some of the drivers, anyone who had a 1 minute 31 who was in the top four in the first race were about a second clear of the rest of the pack. Any of them could have had a shot at P1 just looking at the pace. But we consistently told that we kept telling it's about consistency. It's about being there at the right time. It's about staying out of trouble. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's also about hoping trouble doesn't find you.
I was just thinking that Ibrahim, when he started out the qualifying, he did a lot of laps.
Yep.
Get onto the track earlier, he was able to pick that time. He understood the track a little bit well. So then that's played to his advantage. A little shout out to our folks in Inox, right? Really backed us up.
Yeah, it's a great place, great venue to have this event, and I'm quite sure. I mean, watching that live stream in that movie hall would have been excellent. That's what esports is all about. It's like having that environment where you have the excitement, all that audio coming in, the visuals, the participants. I mean, we had sim rigs set up in there. The vibe would have just been incredible with the energy flowing through. The excitement to be able to see the competitors actually sitting there in front of you. This is esports, but that doesn't mean it has to purely be electronic. You can be up there using the electronics in front of a physical crowd.
Well, esport on a bigger screen, you can't get bigger than this, can you?
We can't. I know some. We see these videos online. People do use ultra wides and triple screens. I've seen videos of people using projectors on their entire wall and then it's sitting in front of that, and sitting with the steering wheel. It's like ultimate immersion. You want one more than that? You want to one up that? Buy a VR headset. Then you have a 360-degree, not even 360. You have like an entire view of the world around you.
I think the VR headset is a very interesting thing that you say around it. Different methods, different tools to basically win this one. But eventually, whatever tools you used, you got to know your racing lines. You got to know how the track is unfolding. That's what will take you to Q1.
Yep, indeed. It's all about just focusing and getting up there when you need to. Thank you for your patience, everybody, for waiting. We're just waiting for that final result. Our directors told us that it's coming up in about a minute's time. But one thing is for sure, we see that Ibrahim technically gets P1 because he qualified first at the start of the first race, and so basically that means he gets P1. Effective, even though the points total is the same. That's your points total: 43 for Ibrahim and Davlish. Ibrahim taking P1, having qualified first for the first race. Sai Prithvi having to settle for P3, 27. He must be wondering, were there more points in there? Surely the potential was there. Unfortunate for him to just have to settle for P3 at 27. Hari Kripanan taking 23. Shantanu coming a close fifth at a 22. That's brilliant driving from those two, having put their cars way up there. Top 5 definitely had some brilliant drives. Prathamesh as well in the second race had some really good drives. Had a really good drive. Jamie Shaw, we saw him competing for the race lead at points. Unfortunately, he was involved in a few spins and collisions, having to settle for P7. But 12 points across the 2 races. I wouldn't be disappointed if I were him. That was some good haul. That's a good haul of points for sure. Ritwik taking away 6 points from this. Avinash Gupta 4 points, and Richard Gyan taking away 1 point from the effective total of these 2 races.
Right then, so somebody will be asking, like, Ibrahim is placed ahead of Devlish Singh is because he won the first race, so hence the advantage of being on top of the table.
And he qualified for he qualified on
And
pole as
qualified.
well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, sometimes those technicalities are there. It works for other forms of motorsport as well. But on that note, I think it's time to end. Oh wait, sorry. Sorry, my bad. Just apologies. Once again, we got some more information from our race directors. Just give us 1 second to confirm. All right, there we go. We've got the message. I believe it's time to end. Unfortunately, I want to keep watching some more races, Solomon, but it's the way the cookie crumbles. We need to settle for this. It's been an excellent experience. What are your closing thoughts on it, Solomon?
Let's get more of this. This is good. This is fun, and this is to the limit. And good racing is what we watched.
We really do hope this inspired you all to get more involved in esports. It's a huge space out there. I mean, there's so much you could do. This is specifically sim racing. There's so many things out there. But if you're interested in sim racing, there are a lot of opportunities like this coming up. Just keep following, ESFI that has been organized by ESFI, this particular event. Also, partners IR Esports, Inox, and Artsmith, all involved in this. Keep following these pages. You'll get more information of what is going on. On that note, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this, supporting all these drivers. My name is Saidat Ramesh. I've got Solomon alongside for this entire journey. It's been great. We had Vishal Stephens also on the commentary box yesterday. We've had a great time presenting this for you, and a big shout out to our race directors as well, Feroz and Tanuj. Huge shout out to all the partners and guests involved in this. On that note, have a great evening, everybody, and we'll surely catch up with you at some point. Not sure when, but for the short future, have a great time. Stay safe and be healthy.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic.
Bro, it was insane, bro.
Best racing simulator.
It is sponsor. Completely realistic.
By this move, and he's got some nose to the inside. He breaks later. Very good car placement by Jamie Shorter, mate.
Highlight reel is going to be much bigger than what we saw at Limerick Park.
The Indian drivers as well, trying to get himself through on that.